Welcome back to another WonderCat channel video. This one we're going to be covering Set 2, False Gods in review. False Gods was a flavor win when it came to the set name and heavily leaned onto this, built around the boss monsters regarding it, the Void Lords. The Void Lords are a cycle of 10 costed spirits that were introduced lore-wise, made to be a cataclysmic threat to the world itself. Green was also introduced and gave us Tokiwa, the one who would save us all, so to speak. And while the card was never truly strong, the reason being, it basically foiled any potential Void Lord list and really nobody ran Void Lords. Believe it or not, when 3/4 of your Void Lords that are printed are bulk rares, with little to no actual threat in the metagame, poor Tokiwa was left defending nothing. Avarisha was the only Void Lord printed as an X rare, and it makes sense considering he was able to reanimate other Void Lords from the trash. Another flavor win design-wise. Another little flavor win was the fact that the Void Lords didn't make so much of an impact as what you would think, kind of leaning into that false gods ideation, that they aren't as strong as what you would think. This most likely wasn't the reason why they weren't any good, but it's still interesting to, ponder. Set 2, however, followed a massive amount of problems. Some would say that it had even more than Set 1. The boxes did have more to them to an extent, but with the likes of Green being introduced, people were incentivized to buy this product specifically to play the newest color. Green being the newest control color, being able to exhaust things at flash speed, changing the tempo of the combat step, removing attackers or blockers, and even summoning them at flash speed too with the keyword Swift. Set 2 even started us on early with collaboration cards, each box topper giving us an alternate art Thorn Prison reskinned into a Gundam card called Beam Rifle. I was personally in love with these, and while I didn't have a lot of knowledge or interest in Gundam, I knew I wanted my playset. So I was at least keen on buying 4 boxes over time or trading towards extra copies, and the collabs didn't stop there. Each Void Lord also got its own Gundam collab, full art variant being released, and would replace the SPR rare in your box. I don't understand the thought process behind this, but apparently Yellow needed 2, and the Angel card Clavis also got her own Gundam card. Weird choice. Don't know if it was ever addressed why. I feel like it may have just been leftover commissioned art or something, and they're like, hey, let's throw this onto another card, Tokiwa, though not a Void Lord, also got its own Gundam collab as the green card to get it. And let me tell you, these cards look gorgeous IRL. Tokiwa also received this set Saga Rare and signed Grand Open promo. So the odds of a Gundam card being in your box instead of an SPR was meant to be about 1 in 4 boxes, though from anecdotal evidence I'd say it actually was a bit lower. Now you're probably thinking, well, there's nothing wrong with adding reskin lottery-esque cards into a set to promote selling product, and I 100% agree. These cards were not exclusive and were simple reskins. If you wanted to play the rare or X-rare variants of these cards for significantly cheaper, you could. But let's just look at the math here. If there was meant to be a 1 in 4 chance you'd get any Gundam collab card, you were looking at, and you were looking for a specific one, then you're looking at it around a 4% chance for getting a specific Gundam card you wanted out of any given box. That's some pretty crazy chance already. But the math and problems don't stop there. Eventually it was found out that through opening the product that the set didn't even guarantee an SPR per box. I don't know how this happens. How do you do this? After Set 1, oh my god. The one reason people would then open the product en masse, having these SPRs, you couldn't even guarantee this. They've botched it. It's like Set 1 was meant to have done well, and then you go, oh my god, Set 2's released, and then they just absolutely blow it all up. They're like, oh, Gundam, but guess what? You're not even gonna get 1 per box, and oh dear, Bandai, what are you doing? Through some tenacious digging online, so it was basically reported that the ratio was about 12 boxes to a case. 3 Gundam cards within those 12 boxes, so back to the 1 in 4 chance we were talking about. 7 of those boxes would have regular SPRs. 2 of the boxes would be dead. 0 SPRs, 0 Gundam cards, 0 Saga Rares. Welcome to the we open all the Gundam boxes in the case and sell the rest line. What a joke of a set. With all this in mind, set 2 aged about as good as you think. Not super great. The Gundam collab cards still hold decent value, however, and were the first taste of what was yet to come. But let's talk about some of the good things from set 2. It can't all be bad. Like previously stated, False Gods introduced green, and I'd say from both memory and from looking at the overall card pool we received, it was a massive success. Thorn Prison definitely pushed people to want to play the colour, and the card was good enough on its own that it even managed to get played in most lists as your playset, becoming a staple to an extent of Ice Shield. The fact that Thorn Prison had also received its Beam Rifle promo also helped a lot. The card was definitely very strong early meta-wise. We got 4 X-Rares covering Blade Beasts, Insectoids, Carapites, which were the Ant-Men, and Tokiwa himself representing the Prey Birds. Worker Ant-Man saw a huge amount of play as an early game threat, being able to ramp and sat at 4k at 2 cores outside Burning Force range. Green as a colour definitely seemed to be the combat trick control colour so far, probably next to white. Only green could be played like white to the extent that green aggro could win games as early as turn 4 if not answered quickly enough. Once again though, the card pool was limited extensively spirit-wise by almost a third of all spirits having no effects. Vanilla garbage. It should be noted however that green can at least somewhat benefit off this, as both Alvar Plains and Ant Undercity interacted with this niche issue. As for other colours, was there anything of relevance printed that still sees considerable play? Well, Lamorak, Little Lamb, my little lamb, still pops up every now and then. I've seen it played recently at my locals as well. I'd like to think Charles and Joker was still decent, but I think that yellow may be a little weak as a colour right now, especially in terms of its magic package. Impaler Forest is still being used in Hydra to top deck it after milling off pollen triggers. Inescapable Avalanche is also a really solid card, but without white reduction, it's a little expensive. It also doesn't stop when summoned or on attack triggers, so while it can remove pesky board pressure, it's not exactly a universally good card. So, what's the overall verdict? The set has little to no reason to open. The SBRs weren't super great cards outside Lamorak, and considering you were hedging your bets on a 25% chance you might get a Gundam Voidlord, your investment is looking mighty suspicious. The lore and theme of the set using Tokiwa to introduce green was a nice touch, but ultimately didn't lead to anything since the cards are basically unplayable. The threat of the Voidlords did not translate into the game, and therefore was a failure. Surprisingly, with the amount of love I have for some of the cards in this set, I have to put it at like a 2 out of 10. It's so hard to want to put this any higher. It's impossible to justify to anyone a reason to purchase this product outside, but you might get a cool lottery card, assuming your case or boxes haven't been searched. Hopefully we will see a proper resurgence with the release of Set 3. And you can follow me on this journey to see how the rest of the product has stacked up. But before we go, we need to address the lore set. Now, I love this idea. A small little collection of cards purchased on the side similar to EX01 that will potentially change up the meta and actually cares about the game's world building. The lore set consisted of a bunch of never before seen cards, one of which was our first ever blue card, which was a super big letdown in terms of playability. This set was significantly better in terms of design as the cards were unique, unlike EX01. Also how they looked was really cool. The lore set also came with a small book that explained parts of the lore and a couple of booster packs. You'd need to purchase 2 of these, however, to complete your playsets, which seemed weird since you'd always be left with an extra book. Guess you could give one to a friend who likes to read, or maybe throw it in some random prize pool or something, I don't know. Other than that, the price point wasn't bad. The cards were a bit of a hit and miss in regards to their playability. Pretty much all of them were useless outside the new Tokiwa printing. Minaka suffered from the Voidlords aren't relevant, so neither am I problem, and whilst the Papa turned things into Voidlords for the turn, mixing spirit colours back in set 2 was much harder than what it is now. Godslaying was actually an insane printed yellow magic that allowed small 2-cost decks to trade up with larger spirits in combat. Emperor K was also an interesting card, and I believe she was printed well before her time to shine, with her ability caring about people running multiple coloured spirits. She does have triple red reduction, so whatever shell she's placed in will require a fair amount of red. The lore set for me gets a solid 5 out of 10. If its job was to hype us up for blue, it did, but they definitely could have released a better card to do it with. The cards did their job and felt on flavour for the theme of being in a lore set, and their unique borders made them pop in a deck. Seeing even one of these cards being relevant meta-wise was enough for people to purchase it, and I hope we get more chapters in the future, hopefully with better cards overall. But that's it for today, folks. Thanks for sticking around. Next video in the series, we'll be touching on aquatic invaders, and our attention will turn to the introduction of blue. Did BSS fix things, and did we receive a product that does better both on the shelf and for the game as a whole? Or where did we turn the corner? Find out next time on the Wondercat channel. Ta-ta.